views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Best of Open, where we look at some of the best and most memorable interviews we've had over the past year. Now, we want to encourage you to stay connected to us, and you can find out about us on Twitter at BronxNet TV and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, this year we sat down with our political commentator, Lee Bynes, and we covered many political topics, including members of the NFL players kneeling at games along with President Trump's comments on the NFL. Let's take a look at this memorable interview. Well, former Alabama Judge Roy Moore won the Alabama primary election, making President Trump's first electoral loss. Also, President Trump called on the NFL to fire those who protest the national anthem and even rescinded NBA superstar Steph Curry's invitation for not wanting to participate in the championship visit to the White House. Also, the president let out 24 tweets on the NFL compared to only 4 tweets about the devastation in Puerto Rico, leaving many upset and irate. Joining us now to talk about these political topics, we welcome now our political commentator, Lee Bynes, to the set. And Lee, we've been talking about Puerto Rico throughout the course of the show. Many Bronxites affected by it, many family members. And you know the sentiment. Obviously, the president is under fire because you send out these tweets about the NFL and calling the NFL players curse words. And yet and still, the people of Puerto Rico seem to get no attention whatsoever until it's brought to his attention.
Well, you know what? I think the whole incident brings up the fact, well, the president's priorities. Apparently, the president is more interested in feeding red meat to his base than getting some serious help to Puerto Rico. Now, we understand that these folks are suffering right now beyond the incidents that are going on in Florida and Houston. But you know, a lot of people were actually wondering whether or not the president thought that Puerto Rico was a part of the United States, because he doesn't seem to be treating them as though these are citizens. Unfortunately for Puerto Rico, they have limited representation in Washington because they can't even vote in the general election. So when they reach out to their representatives, the few that they are literally powerless to impact the funding that comes to that's going to come out to help them. Now, if you take a look at the situation that's going on right now, I don't want to get into a whole global warming issue, but we have to understand the fact that these incidents are growing more intense. They're costing a heck of a lot more money to rebuild these communities. And the fact that FEMA has about $11 billion left in their coffers for the next year, and with no idea how much more is going to be necessary to repair more communities, they're in a lot of trouble. So the government literally is relying on private sources, the goodness of people's hearts to contribute to these incidents. And I'm afraid that there could be what's called donation fatigue that can set in. And that's one of the reasons why it's very important for Puerto Rico to get the attention while this situation is in play right now, because 2 weeks from now, the news will be gone.
Well, here's what the president said in the news out of the White House. Number one, the president says getting into Puerto Rico has been hard because Puerto Rico is an island. It's been hard hit, and it's hard to get into Puerto Rico. Secondly, he says that, you know, pretty much we're doing the best that we can, and Puerto Rico has not been forgotten about. But when you look at the controversy that spanned with the NFL this past weekend and hearing what's going on with all of these NFL players, teams, owners, even it's gotten to the NBA, Steph Curry, LeBron James, it seems as though the president's direction has shifted from really dealing with a real national crisis to really taking the national spotlight in a sparring session.
Well, quite frankly, this is all about Donald Trump. That's the bottom line, because we're not just talking about the issue with Puerto Rico. We're talking about a nuclear event that could take place at any moment between the United States and North Korea. We're talking about a national health care crisis going on in America right now, because the Senate failed to, once again to come up with a plan that would be palatable to the country. Now, at this very moment, right now, the Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act is literally running out of money. It's being sabotaged as we speak to make sure that a lot of these insurance carriers that are in these exchanges decide that, well, this isn't economically viable for us to stay here. The president has also decreased the advertising budget for health care by 90%, which reduces the ability for a lot of people to find out what the heck is going on, what it's going to cost, and how can I make sure that myself and my family or my small business be covered. So yeah, a lot of the things that are going on right now with Donald Trump, specifically this fight with the NFL and the NBA, and probably will spill out into the baseball basketball season, is because he's looking to take your eye off of all of these other issues that are going on. You spoke with the election last night that happened.
Right, I want to get on that.
Yeah, that happened in Alabama.
Roy Moore winning Alabama.
Exactly.
What does that mean?
That means that the Trump administration is going to be facing somewhat of a civil war. His own former Steve Bannon is out there campaigning for candidates that are opposed to the establishment. So what we're watching right now is when this guy Roy gets into office, he's going to be on the side of people like Mike Lee and Ron Paul and folks. Well, yeah, he's not going to play by the rules, and that's one of the reasons why the Republicans are having such a difficult time getting any legislation passed whatsoever, because they're having a civil war within their own party. And but again, if Donald Trump can use the NBA and the NFL as a foil right now to keep people's eye off the ball, that's what he's going to do.
So, but what does it mean for the president, given the fact that he was just there, campaign, spent millions of dollars, the Republican Party spent millions of dollars behind the president's candidate, and still not able to bring that home? How does that transcend in future midterm elections?
I would say that anybody who wants to run as a GOP candidate would be wise not to ask Donald Trump to come down there or come any place and support them. His support was tepid at best, because during that speech, he was actually acknowledging the fact that, well, maybe I made a mistake supporting this guy or whatever, because again, it all revolves about him, his reputation. I don't think Donald Trump gives much of a hoot of what's going on down in Alabama, as long as it's not negatively impacting him. With regards to this issue of how he called out the NFL, he actually is very, very expert at doing this, is changing the subject, changing the narrative. This went from a peaceful protest about race, and he's turned it into an act of patriotism. He's turned it in, wrapping himself in the flag. He's turning it, taking this story to the level of the national anthem. But if he wants to go there are a lot of people in the African American community or brown community that would be more than willing to challenge him on that, simply because of the fact that, well, yesterday he gave a statement saying that a lot of people fought and died, and suffered tremendous injury in supporting this flag. But what he fails to understand is that for people of color, that flag doesn't represent the same thing it represents to white America. You see, after World War II, the big one, if you will, white soldiers came back to the GI Bill, they came back to home assistance, they came back to college education assistance, they came back to an economy that was going to make their lives great, okay? When black soldiers came back from World War II, they came back to Jim Crow. They came back to segregation and discrimination. They did make some slight gains during the 60s, during the civil rights movement, but we all know now that that was not sustainable. And as the slide continued, we find ourselves pretty much where we were when all of this first started. We're not enslaved, but we're in prison. And a lot of people have made the connection that it's not much different. So whether or not African Americans or people of color could be held to the same standard when it comes to saluting the flag and standing for the national anthem. You have to understand the history of the people that are going through what they're going through, and they're dealing with something that's completely different. So,
well, and originally, let's be honest,
Sure.
originally the original whole taking a knee had nothing to do with the military. It had nothing to do pretty much with the American flag, and as much as it had to do with injustice, police brutality,
racial
equality,
intolerance,
right?
racial
Those things,
in
and unfortunately, it seems as though that's gotten lost in the conversation, and it's more about patriotism and not about what the real taking the knee was really originally for.
And as I mentioned before, Donald Trump is an expert, if not the best, at deflecting your attention from one issue to another until that issue dies down, and then Friday, I almost guarantee you, there's a pattern that we're seeing now, that pretty much every Friday he throws something out to change the narrative of what's going on in Washington and get a lot of people all upset, involved, and really forget about what's important to them, what's really important. Puerto Rico is important, healthcare is important, what's going on in North Korea is important. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about Donald Trump.
Lee Bynes, that's why we bring you in every week. Thanks much.
My pleasure.
Well, we got to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more of the best of Open right after this.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Hi, I'm David Lesh, legal correspondent to the morning show Open. If you have a legal question that you'd like me to answer, please send me an email at davidlesh@bronxnet.org, and I will address it on our Ask Your Lawyer segment.
Lehman Stages presented its 4th annual Breakfast with Santa in the Lehman College Faculty Dining Room, where kids and parents gather for breakfast, live music, and of course, Santa Claus. Director of Lehman Stages, Dante Aliberti, brought the idea of Breakfast with Santa after having his own mom bring him to one upstate, and is happy to bring even more holiday cheer to the Bronx.
We have a range of events that we do at Lehman Stages. We do stuff during the summer. This holiday event, the first time we did it, completely just took off. So we like to build tradition. If something works like this, if the community says, hey, we like it, we like to bring it back, and we like to make it just a little bit better each year.
This is my first year doing this, and I really liked it. I was not expecting to have this turnout, to have many people here.
It's always Christmas when you wake up to a beautiful day. This is my 3rd year doing it. I used to be the executive chef here at one time, so it's great to be back.
I love it. I think the kids have a wonderful experience of meeting Santa and having breakfast. It's nice. It's holiday season. Let them enjoy.
Every year I love when Santa comes.
This is Ed Martinez, Bronx Net.
Well, the Bronx opened up a new diabetes relief center that will open those with diabetes new advanced treatment. I had the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Jack Lewin, who tells us about the center and much more. Well, according to the American Diabetes Association, in 2015, 30.3 million people were diagnosed with diabetes, which is 9.4% of the U.S. population. Now, diabetes continues to be a major issue, especially in the Bronx. But now, Bronx residents will have access to the new advanced treatment, helping to reduce the disease. And here now to tell us more about that relief and the Relief Center, we welcome now the principal and founder of Lewin and Associates, Dr. Jack Lewin, and we thank you so much for coming and being with us.
Thank you, Daren. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey,
yeah, diabetes is an amazing chronic disease problem in the U.S. And in fact, the Bronx is 61st out of 61 counties in New York in terms of lower health status, and diabetes is one of the main contributors.
And so you work front and center really dealing with the issue of diabetes. Now, for those who may not know exactly what is diabetes and what causes diabetes, we're going to talk about that for a second. So,
Sure.
So what is diabetes for somebody who doesn't know?
Well, diabetes is a disease of metabolism in terms of being able to digest and metabolize carbohydrates, starches, sugars. And there's type 1 diabetes where the the body doesn't make insulin, the hormone that helps sugar, glucose, get into the cells. Type 2 diabetes, it happens later in life for most people who acquire it. And it's a different disease. They have insulin, but they have insulin resistance, and so it's in essence the same. The cells of the body don't get the energy they need because glucose or sugar isn't going in to provide the turn into the energy source, something called ATP. So all the cells of the body are kind of starving, and they want the energy and sugar, but it can't get into the cell. So the result of that is manifest throughout the body. Eventually it can destroy the kidneys, it can destroy the eyes and retina, it causes peripheral nerve damage, numbness, and some people have amputations as a result of that because they don't feel the pressure developing and sores develop. Cardiac disease, I've been involved with cardiovascular research, and cardiovascular disease comes with diabetes over time. So diabetes is like a whole series of chronic diseases, all based on that inability to metabolize sugar.
And so here in the Bronx, there's the Diabetes Relief Center, and I want you to go front and center and explain to some people about the Relief Center and the services that's offered.
Okay. Well, this is based on a treatment called Trina that was developed in California by a man by the name of Ford Gilbert, who quit his law practice and went back to school and got a PhD in human physiology because his daughter had diabetes type 1 and was very, very sick. And he decided he had to do something more than what was being offered. And so he developed this treatment approach, which has spread around the country in various clinics. Now the first one is just opened yesterday here in the Bronx, and it's a perfect place to have it. And it treat up to 500 people a month to reduce the risks of those comorbidities, the neuropathy, the kidney disease, the eye disease, cardiovascular, and so forth. It's really interesting.
So how do you feel this makes the difference here?
Well, my job is really to do research on this whole thing. I mean, this clearly there are thousands of patients who attest to this having saved them, gotten rid of their neuropathy, gotten rid of all these other symptoms. And so that's really there. And there's some studies too that indicate that this is really fantastic. I'm going to be doing a large study with the University of California that is going to look further into how this works and why it works, but it's clear that this is producing something very special.
Yeah, and so we want to tell you about the Trina treatment. If you want to find out more about it, of course, we ask that you get connected with Dr. Lewin and in the treatment relief program, well, I should say the Relief Center, and you can find out more about it. So when you talk about treatment for diabetes, a couple of things. Number one, is diabetes preventable?
Well, not really. It's genetic. It's there. And it's not, people always think of it as, I caused this. If it's type 2 diabetes, I ate too much, I was overweight. But the reality is, no, this is a genetic thing that's happening to you. And part of the reason people get overweight with diabetes is because it creates this hunger in the cells of the body because the sugar isn't getting in there. People are never feeling satisfied. So it's not their fault.
Right. But I've heard, and we've heard people all the time say,
feeling guilty.
Right, feeling guilty, my fault.
No, this is something that's genetic. It's happening to you. And the Trina treatment actually it mimics the human pancreas, which when you eat a sugar meal, it gets into your body, into your stomach, the pancreas begins to put out microbursts of insulin, not a continuous infusion, but little bursts that get to the liver, turn the liver into the enzyme machine that it is, and the liver starts storing sugar as glycogen, and it sends messages to the cells of the body to allow the sugar into the cell using insulin. So the microburst approach is trying to mimic the normal human pancreas for people with diabetes, and they get a 3-hour treatment once every week for about 3 months, and then once every 2 weeks thereafter, approximately. And we actually measure the change in metabolism so we know it's working.
So you talked a little bit about doing the research, and what about results? How will we be able to measure, see results? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, people, what's reported in all these other clinics that are out there is that for people with neuropathy, usually in 3 months, the neuropathy, and 90% of the people who have been treated, the neuropathy goes away or is so reduced that people are able to walk better and they don't have a risk of sores and amputations. It's a little more subtle in the kidney disease. You have to measure that kind of with lab tests to know it's there. But people's vision gets affected with diabetes too, and And there are many, many claims that this has really made a huge difference in terms of preventing retinopathy. So we're going to actually take photographs of the retina before and at 3 months and 6 months to demonstrate the effects in the eye, and we'll be measuring the changes in sensation in the legs and so forth. But it's exciting research that I'm involved with, but the treatment is out there.
Right. So who are candidates for the Relief Center?
People who have diabetes and already have some complications developing. You know, I mean, obviously diet and exercise are still important in diabetes, and diabetes doesn't go away. People would still have to take their medications or their insulin. But people that are having neuropathy or eye problems or kidney problems or heart problems related to diabetes, they're the ideal people because we can slow that down. That's the whole concept here.
All right, so we want you to get in touch with Dr. Jack Lewin, find out more about the Diabetes Relief Center. Please, you can go to their website, www.diabetesreliefcenters.com, and find out more there. You get in touch with Dr. Jack or any of the other staff. And
it's right at the hub, and people can even drop in and see it if they want to. It's at the corner of 148 and 3rd Avenue.
Yeah. And you said exciting because it's just now starting here in the borough.
It really is exciting.
All right, Dr. Jack Lewin, thanks so much.
Thanks, Daren.
Good to have you.
All right.
My interview with Dr. Lewin. Well, got to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more with the best of Open right after this.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight. Walking in a winter wonderland, gone away.
Tonight we have some live music in the atrium of the Residence Inn. We're doing mostly Christmas songs, holiday tunes, and with a little bit of jazz thrown in, a little bit of like best of the 70s, kind of easy listening, and yeah, it's a mix of all my favorite holiday songs.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring.
When we first heard the music, me and the lady here, we thought it was the radio. We thought it was just the radio. But when we turned and we saw her, it was just like, it was beautiful. It's amazingly beautiful. And it gives you, she has that Celine Dion look, but her voice is different. It's beautiful.
So it's I'm having a nice time. The music is great. Usually I'm not into Christmas music, but she makes it sound good, so I can live with that.
For the past 3 years, I've been cruising, touring Europe on cruise ships, singing, which has been awesome. I've been getting to travel, see the world, and meet people, share music, and yeah, so I just got home actually 1 month ago, right in time for the holidays, and I thought, why not keep singing and share with the people in my own community.
Walking in a winter wonderland.
The new year means many new homes for many Bronx residents, and we got a chance to sit down with credit expert Ricardo Black, who gave us some financial and credit tips for those looking to buy a new home. Well, our next guest is an author, a credit advisor, and a real estate investor. His mission is to help aspiring individuals achieve their personal and financial goals by creating generational wealth. Joining us now to give us some financial tips, we welcome now credit expert Ricardo Black, and good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Good, good, good. Well, listen, the year's about over, and I know a lot of people worried about finances and getting their house in order, so to speak, but let's talk about a couple of things. First of all, some people are already saying New Year's resolution, talk about real estate and owning a house or buying a home, and that's the big goal for many people for the new year. Talk to us about now and investing in. What are some things that people really need to know going forward?
Well, thank you. Great question. One of the biggest things that most people don't know is that regardless of what industry or background people are in, 90% of the millionaires in America are making their money in real estate. It doesn't matter what they do, whether they're sports figures or they're medical people or they're in university or they're a broadcaster. They're still going to take a majority of that income that they make and they're going to put it in real estate, because real estate is almost the most guaranteed way to create long-term wealth for yourself and your family.
So we talk about that. What are people doing to do that?
Okay, so there are three things that you need to really invest in real estate. You need to have a team of people who are really dedicated to the effort. They have to have a clear idea of what needs to be done. They have to be educated. They have to have the time, the efforts that are needed, and the resources, as well as the experience. You need a team of experts who can surround you, kind of like what Henry Ford did when he did the first Model T. He had no clue how to build a car, but he surrounded himself with people who knew everything there is to know about auto industry. And so with that, he built a major industry out of a team of experts who were smarter than he was. So when you want to become a real estate investor, forget about trying to do it yourself. You're going to fail every single time. And that's the number one reason why most people fail when they think about doing real estate investing.
Because they do it by themselves.
They want to do it by themselves. I mean, can you build a skyscraper by yourself? Could you operate a studio right now by yourself? Not going to happen. You can't be everywhere at the same time. So you have to figure out, what lane am I going to be in? My lane is to have a dream and to desire something big for myself and my family and for the posterity to come. And I'm going to go ahead and hire the people whose only reason for jumping out of bed every day is to know this thing better than anybody else. So you have people who know how to find the right properties, people who could rehab that property, people who could find the best mortgage and the lowest rates for you, people who could find the right tenant if you're going into renting, people who could help you to find the right investors if you need it. I mean, everything that you need, you gotta have the right team of people to plug in, and everybody stay in their lane, and then you get down the highway together.
Talk about having the right team, but before you even have the right team, you also have the right stuff in-house, and part of that is credit. So
absolutely.
I wanted to let you have an opportunity to talk to us about that, because that's a major part. You can have great, desires and want to do some real estate and invest in real estate, but credit is obviously a major thing as well.
Credit is huge. And we used to say that cash is king. Well, right now, credit is king and cash is queen, if you want to think of it that way. But think about right now, we have approximately 30 million Americans with a credit score under 600 FICO. Now, if you have a 680 or better, you're going to get a loan to get any kind of real estate deal you want. But the rate is going to be determined based on how high your credit score is. So when you have a 750 and higher, banks are going to compete to give you their loan. If you have it lower than 700, you're going to be trying really hard to get that loan. So what we do is we try to help at Ultimate Better World Solutions. We try to help people with a 680 or better credit score to actually use their name. If they have no money, we could actually get you to become a real estate investor by actually using your name as a creditor, so that you could go in, get a simple short-term loan with just your name, turn that money into investment capital, and in a few short months, you actually wind up with $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in your pocket, and you didn't have to quit your job, because our team of experts are doing the work that needs to be done to ensure that you have exactly the results you need. And in case they don't have that credit score, my company actually has a team of lawyers whose job it is to apply the Fair Credit Reporting Act to ensure that every one of our customers are able to remove anything that's not supposed to be on their credit report. Right. We remove it with legal support. We remove it permanently, and that way you're able to actually move forward. This is a big deal.
You talked about one word or two words, credit report. Now, for many people, sometimes credit report is the last thing that they want to look at, the last thing they want to talk about, the last thing they want to deal with. Talk to people today about dealing with that credit report, because ultimately you got to know where you want to go.
Absolutely. Knowing where you want to go is a key point. Now, a lot of people have taken the idea that, like an ostrich, it's kind of a myth, that they're going to dig their head into the sand whenever something goes wrong. The biggest problem is there are 40 million mistakes made every year by the three big credit agencies. 40 million, which means that everyone listening to me right now, if they were to go and check their credit report, there's a good chance that 20% of what's on their report has nothing to do with them. Think about that. And every 60 days, our credit goes up and down like a seesaw. Why? Because things happen. And sometimes there might be someone who has one name that sounds like someone else's name at a similar address with a similar birth date, not the same social, but now that person has something on their credit that has nothing to do with them. So we say, don't worry about it. Get to me. My team will help you to see what's on the credit report, and we will force the credit agencies to remove anything that shouldn't be there. The moment things start coming off, your credit score goes up. The higher your scores go, the lower the interest rates that you pay. So you actually wind up becoming richer simply by getting your credit restored. It's an amazing concept that a lot of people don't understand. They actually believe that credit agencies work for the government. It's a big myth. They have nothing to do with the government. They're private companies. And a lot of people don't even know that one of the major credit agencies aren't even an American company. They're from, I believe, England. So think about it. A company outside of America own your private information. Don't be afraid. Contact me and we will help you to get to the truth.
Well, you got the information at the bottom of the screen as to how to get in touch with Ricardo Black. And thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. Credit expert, of course, you got to come back and share with us a few more tips.
Anytime. I'm always a big fan of you, man. Thank you so much.
Ricardo
Appreciate
Black,
it. Absolutely.
And stay tuned. We have more of the best of Open right after this.
Today's celebration with the holiday lighting and the train show is just a wonderful showcase for the importance of the arts and culture in our community.
4, 3, 2, 1.
A feeling of awe, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, everything bound up together in one bunch.
This is a wonderful event, and this is his first visit to the garden.
And he's really enjoying it. He's enjoying looking at all the trains passing by, and you see his eyes so alert at all the different lights and the colors.
This show right here is a beautiful experience for the kids as well. It's my first time actually coming here, so I'm definitely enjoying it.
It's an annual tradition now for many of us to be here for the tree lighting at the Botanical Gardens, to see so many people from around the world who come out here to enjoy this great institution, but also the holiday train show.
We're from England.
England, southern England, southwest England. This combines both our interests of my interest in railways and transport, and Penny's a tremendous gardener, so this is a great place for both of us because we're both looking at things we love.
What a wonderful way to jumpstart your holidays. Family, cheer, good people, the community.
I like it because Thomas was there.
The Bronx is such a wonderful place to raise a family, and my wife and I are raising our 2 children. It is such a magical place to be here in the Bronx around the holidays.
Every time we look at a map, somebody comes up to us and says, "Can I help you?" Fantastic people in the Bronx.
It's great to be here. I'm going to look forward to coming here every year with my kids and getting this annual photo behind these beautiful trees.
Happy holidays! From our family to all the families in the Bronx.
I got a crick in my neck, limp in my step, cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. But I was scared of. Very sad, no more love. All that I could do was remember you. You know I usually stay now, but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch!
Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
And welcome back. Well, this year we witnessed one of the most devastating hurricanes. Hurricane Maria left the people of Puerto Rico without food, water, and even shelter. We talked to Councilmember Fernando Cabrera, who gave us the latest on Puerto Rico and different ways people could donate to the island. It still remains relevant today, so let's take a look. Well, it's been 2 months after the Hurricane Maria has hit the island of Puerto Rico, and the people are still in need of help. Now, joining us over the phone to discuss this and the relief mission is the councilman of the 14th District, Councilman Fernando Cabrera. Councilman Cabrera, good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
We've talked about this time and time again, and you continue to be a stable force in going over and assisting in the island of Puerto Rico with all that's going on. I want to ask you a little bit more about certain places, because many times a lot of attention is given, and no slight intended, to San Juan. That's the capital, that's where things are, that's where we know a lot of the focus, and it really is ground zero for a lot of the relief efforts and stuff. But talk to us a little bit about the mountains and that experience, because it seems as though that those are the people in the mountains that seem to have a lot of trouble, and I know you were able to actually get to the mountain after being able to travel through some rough waters.
Absolutely, you're absolutely 100% right there, and those are the areas that were most affected. We're talking about areas like Jayuya, Utuado, Orocovi. Those mountainous areas were so hard hit, and part of the reason is because they have so many landslides. And if you have the opportunity to go there, you will find that many telephone poles were down, houses were blown away. We're talking about many of the houses that were made out of wood, or you may have a house that's made out of concrete, but their roof is made out of anything other than cement. And as a result of that, many people in those mountainous areas were hard hit. So much that even up to this day, still do not have electricity. To this day, they still sometimes they have water, sometimes they don't have water. And, you know, when you don't have electricity, you pretty much go back to the dark ages. Things that we take for granted, like refrigerator, things that we take granted, such as air conditioning during, hot days. And at the same time, there are still people there. And I could tell you, I was just there not too long ago, where there are people still who are disconnected, and to get to them, you have to literally cross a river. We have, several instances, but one in particular that caught my biggest attention was a young lady crossing the river to be able to get food from us. We crossed the river back with her, had an opportunity to go with her, and, lo and behold, she had a 3-month-old and 1.5-year-old baby. And there was no way for them to drive out of there because the bridge went down. And when she came back,
we're watching this. Actually, I'm not cutting you off, Councilman. I'm not cutting you off.
Hug, and she literally wept for 10 minutes. I think this was the first time that she was able to just let it all out in a very safe environment. And she told me her husband had left her all by herself. He went to the States, and just simply sad. And so you hear stories and stories, and FEMA has not gotten to many of these places. In Jayuya, they only have 4 FEMA workers. I met one of them. He's trying his very best, but they need more FEMA workers, especially to get into the mountainous area of those regions.
Yeah, well, I was trying to cut in for a second because we were actually seeing the pictures of the actual video of you actually walking across that bridge, walking literally across what looks like, trees and power lines put together in a makeshift bridge. Did you have an idea that the devastation would be as grave as we were seeing?
Absolutely not. I mean, I've been, look, I love to go on disasters and to be able to get to region before others do, because I know how slow government can move. And I've been to Haiti, I've been to Katrina, and I don't like to compare disasters, but this is definitely one of the top ones. It's so overwhelming and so systemic to the area. It's not like one little part or one block. It's just block after block, region after region, and very, very difficult to get supplies there. If you're trying to bring a Mack truck, we were able to do that. The cops are still shocked how we did that, but we needed to get those supplies in to be able to help them. But it's awful. I mean, you have the elderly living with just strips of wood. Before that, they had sink above this piece of wood, so when it rains, it just drains on them. You see the black mold. You see the level of depression, hopelessness. So it's not just food. It's not just water, but it's the human condition. It is the spirit of hopelessness. And this is why it's important for them to feel that we have not given up on them. Usually during disasters, people come in the first 4 weeks, they hit it hard, and then after that, out of sight, out of mind. We got to continue to provide the help. And so right now, the chapter is turning there. The two most important things are for this region are generators and also reconstruction. We got to get this roofs up. We got to get these walls back up. I mean, one young lady who she lost her home twice. This is the second time that she lost her home, and we went by her home, and all 4 walls were down, the roof was down. Thank God that she was not in there. And so this is why it's imperative that we do not give up in helping.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank you so much for sharing with us, Councilman Fernando Cabrera of the 14th District, who continues to go to Puerto Rico. Him and the international team of first responders has traveled to Puerto Rico a few times to really bring relief. Thank you so much, Councilman, for sharing with us. And, of course, we'll continue to follow the story of all that goes on in Puerto Rico. And so when you think about the holiday season, please remember those affected in Puerto Rico. Take a quick break. We'll be right back right after this.
We are there, day one, with baby names and a gift that lasts a lifetime. We are there as you grow, protecting you and those you love. We are there when you get your first job, helping you to save for the future. We are there when you marry your sweetheart to help secure your new life together. We are there if the unexpected happens, to help you see life from a new perspective. We are there when you start your next chapter to make sure you get off to a great start. And we are there when you lose your soulmate to help make sure you will be all right. We are with you through life's journey. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. Get to know us and see what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
This video produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
She holds a concert each year recognizing the birthday of Beethoven, but this year it's different.
Well, I have been watching the current events with tremendous anguish as far as the reaction to the disaster in Puerto Rico.
Pianist Kaine Pogosian is rehearsing at her alma mater, the Manhattan School of Music, in preparation for her annual concert, now a benefit concert, to help the Music Conservatory of Puerto Rico in San Juan. After searching for a school, she connected with the music director, Pedro Segada, who shared the school's need for a power generator to conduct daily classes. Joining her effort, violinist Yi-Yang Lee, a student at the school, and first violinist Julie Lawrence.
Well, when Karina asked me to play for this, I just thought it was a wonderful opportunity to give back to other musicians who have suffered a big hardship in Puerto Rico, and so I'm really happy to be able to give my time.
This is a wonderful, really wonderful team, and it's a really good chance for me.
Music is about entertainment, but it's also spiritual, and it's about expressing communicating our feelings towards each other.
Also part of the quintet, bass player Morten Kahn, who's collaborated with Karine in the past and who called her choice of Beethoven's Piano Sonata in E minor, Opus 90, and Piano Concerto No. 4 in G major, Opus 58, fitting.
Beethoven in particular, when he wrote, for example, the Ninth Symphony, was trying to raise us all up, but that we're all brothers and sisters. And his music has a lot of that here. So I always feel that when we're playing Beethoven in particular, so I think this is particularly relevant to try to take care of the poor people in Puerto Rico.
Also donating time, Melissa Eisenstadt, who worked in IT on Wall Street while playing the cello, now an instrument she uses to give back to the communities of this city through the New York Youth Symphony. She shared this on Karine's resolve to help the music school in Puerto Rico.
Her talent, she's fearless to just get in touch with this head of this conservatory and make it happen. And I've played in an orchestra that she's performed with, and she's such a gifted artist, and to get to know her personally has been amazing.
And viola player Brian Thompson is pleased with the opportunity to help another conservatory.
I can only imagine if something similar had happened here, you know, instruments would be destroyed. I mean, everything would be in flux. So I just hope we can do something to help.
After reaching out to Sagada, whose website carries daily updates for students, Karine shared this on his reaction.
He was incredibly happy. He was so grateful that this will be happening.
To catch their performance, they will be at Broadway Presbyterian Church at 114th Street on December 16th at 7:30. For Bronx Net, this is Arlene Makoko.
Well, I got this as a paid internship. Spending my time here, I really enjoyed the people that work here. I enjoy what goes on behind the scenes.
So far, I've learned how to operate a camera, how to host. I learned how to control audio.
My first time hosting was really nerve-wracking, but I really enjoyed it because it was a new experience.
My name is Marianne Connaughton. We're here at Marianne's Irish Gift Shop, right next door to the Riverdale Steakhouse, my mom and dad's place, where you can get an amazing pint of Guinness. And you can sit and sip that Guinness while I wrap your goodies. So I've been trekking over to Ireland for 26 years. I've established relationships with all of the artists that I buy from. Bring in a lot more knitwear, a lot of pottery, and more of just the handmade items that you don't find everywhere. So I love the textiles that come out of Ireland. They make these great tweed caps up in Donegal. What they're famous for, if you can see the different flecks of color, these tweeds are known around the world. This is a classic Aran sweater. The fishermen that lived on the Aran Islands, they would wear these sweaters going off to sea, and each family that knit theirs, they would have a different stitching. So if anything happened to them at sea, if they got lost at sea, they would be able to recognize who they were right away by their jumper. This is a really old, ancient technique that Nicholas Moss started. I even love these for Christmas, and I have customers that have even some of these really charming reindeer pieces that they use all year round. I have customers that come to me every Christmas. I wrap everything, keep track of what people have gotten. They always get something new. The orange though, I think the orange would be beautiful. I just love it here. Everything is imported from Ireland. You can't find this stuff anywhere else. I got a hand
printed like silk scarf, a bangle with the Celtic knot, and also a beautiful handmade, hand-painted bowl that has like copper on the outside. Gorgeous.
Well, I found 2 fisherman knit sweaters, which were traditional Irish sweaters, handmade, one for my new godson, so this is 18-month size, and one for his father. I think they'll look very handsome, don't you? They're going under the Christmas tree.
I sell to everybody. You don't have to be Irish to come in here. You just have to love unique and special items. So whether it be $20 or $200, you know, you're going to get a handmade piece from Ireland.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love, love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
We are together. And for the last 20 years, we have been building on a vision to share our views, our voices on our channels. We are the Bronx. We are Bronx Net.
Well, Parker Todd is a young man that you decide to use his experience with sickle cell to help encourage young children to fight the disease with his book, The Adventures of the Sickler, The Transformation. We had a chance to talk to my buddy, and let's get a chance to hear what he says about sickle cell in his book. According to the CDC, more than 100,000 people suffer with sickle cell. Our next guest was born with sickle cell and decided to write the book called The Adventure of the Sickler. Joining us now to share a little bit about his book and his story with sickle cell, well, he's a 7th grader. And his name, Parker Todd. We welcome him to the show. Parker, good to have you.
Thank you.
Well, good to have you. Listen,
you.
So you've got this book, and you wrote a book called The Adventure of the Sickler by Parker Todd.
Yes.
Talk to us about this book.
Well, the book is about an 11-year-old boy named Chase Parker who goes through the sickle cell and fights it off in the hospital and turns his pain into power and uses that to motivate other kids and get through their illnesses.
And you took this book yourself because you wrote it, and you're a young man that had to deal with sickle cell yourself, so this is really what caused you to really write the book. Talk to us about that, and why did you want to write the book?
Well, I wrote the book to inspire and uplift other kids that are suffering through other diseases, not only sickle cell, but other diseases, and I want to bring the inner sickler out of kids.
So when you talk about your experience and dealing with sickle cell, talk to us a little bit about that, and what was that like for you?
It was hard, but I'm glad I had my parents by my side. So they were with me every step of the way, and they help me, and they motivate me and inspire me.
And so you write this book, and so we're not going to give the whole book away, but what can people find out about this book?
Well, they can go to www.thesickler.com to order it, or they can get it off of Amazon. Yeah.
And you can get it, and you can get it there. How long did it take you to write?
2 years.
2 years.
But I've been crisis-free for 2 years, so it's helped me write this book.
So you've been crisis-free for 2 years?
Yes.
Good. And so that whole process, were you worried, nervous? How did it feel? Because we just saw some pictures of Mom, and if you don't know, his mom is Nicole Johnson, and she's been here as a wonderful news anchor, and she's a news anchor and not just an anchor reporter out in Pix 11, and she does a great job over there, and she's here with us, and she's been several stations, and she's here. This is her son. Talk to us about that and Mom and how much of a help she's been.
She's an extraordinary mother. I'm glad to have her. She helps me, she motivates me, she loves me, and I love her too.
Did she pay you for this?
No.
Okay, I want to make sure.
This is all from my heart.
It's all from your heart?
Yeah.
All right. I believe you. I believe you. We love her too. So you talk about being crisis free. What do you want other kids to know about this?
I want them to take their medicines because it's going to help you fight off your pain, and, you know, just listen to your parents and listen to your doctors because they're going to do the best for you.
Mm-hmm. And what were your parents saying during this whole process?
Well, they were with me every step of the way, like I said, and they just motivated me and inspired me, and I really love them for that.
And talk about the Sickler. So when we talk about the adventures of the Sickler, what adventures can we expect in this book?
You can expect Chase Parker, the main character, going through pain inside the hospital, but you can also see the Sickler transform out of Chase Parker and help uplift, motivate other kids, and get them through their illnesses.
So we want kids to be able to touch base and get this book. We want parents to be able to get this book. It's called The Sickler. It's written by Parker Todd, and it's an excellent book here. You said it took you 2 years to put together?
Yes.
Ah, okay. And so you want people to get this book, and we want people to make sure they get this book. Parker Todd is our guest here with us in studio. I'm going to give you a chance to say one more thing about your book. What do you want people to know?
Enjoy it.
Well, that's a good one to close on. Enjoy it, everybody. It's The Sickler by Parker Todd. And yes, he is a 7th grader who dealt with sickle cell. You say you've been crisis free for 2 years.
Yes.
And so he's on the road, and we want you to make sure that you get this. And great to meet you again.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. And yes, 7th graders can write books, y'all. And so come on out and support Parker Todd, our guest here on Open. Listen, taking a quick break. Want you to stay with us. We got more show coming up after these messages. Great job.
Thank you.
All righty. That about wraps up this very special edition of Open as we look back at the year that was. We encourage you to keep your hearts, your minds, and most of all, this channel wide open. I'm Daren Jaime for all of us here on the set of the show. Wishing you a happy holidays and, of course, a very happy new year. Remember, keep your heart, your mind, and most of all, this channel wide open. Daren Jaime saying take care and God bless.
Coming to you from our Bronx Met Studios, 4 new shows highlighting some of the best of the Bronx has to offer. We sit down with political leaders on In the District and discuss local legislation, events, and issues. See how the community and business come together with The Bronx Now on BronxNet. Nosotros features leaders from our Latino community. Meet those who are moving to make a difference in public service, business, arts, and culture. Looking for new and exciting dining experiences? Then you'll want to savor the Bronx and try new restaurants and eateries that fill the borough with delicious dishes. We have it all, so experience the Bronx in new and fresh ways on BronxNet.